Honorable M.A. Sumandran, you have 9 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Presiding Member, to say a few words at this important debate. But before I do that, I must make a disclosure in terms of the etiquette for members of Parliament. I am presently counsel for a petitioner in a Supreme Court Fundamental Rights Petition number 93 of 2023 that is pending in court, which is in support of the Fundamental Rights Petition number 86 of 2023 that has been filed by Mr. Janaka Ratnayaka. I don't appear for him, but since I am appearing for another petitioner in support of that petition, I think it's only proper that I disclose that. I have also appeared for Mr. Janaka Ratnayaka previously in an unconnected matter, and I think it's ex taputante cautilia. I will mention that too. This Public Utilities Commission was appointed in a particular way, and I think we must remember how this commission was appointed. As soon as President Gotabaya Rajapaksa assumed office, there was at that time a Public Utilities Commission. The chairman and members of that commission were pressurized to resign. They were threatened to resign. All these are matters of record. Some of them came out and said that they had received threats and they succumbed to those threats and they resigned. There was no motion in Parliament to remove them. A different tactic was used by the incumbent president at that time to remove the chairman and Public Utilities Commission. All of these people who now want to get rid of this chairman were with the president at that time, were holding on to his coattails, campaigned for him, and screamed in this house that whatever he did was right. Today, they have abandoned him and they are abandoning his appointees too. That is how this person came to be appointed. Nevertheless, I don't want to go into discuss personalities. I want to place before this house and this country a very important issue. This commission, by law, is vested with duty to ensure that the most economical and efficient service is provided to the public of the country. Most economical and efficient. The CEB can propose whatever they want, but by law, it's a Public Utilities Commission that must ensure that those who receive the services receive it in the most economical and the most efficient manner. Section 4 of this Act, of the Electricity Act, also says efficient use of electricity supplied to the premises must be ensured. What happened with regard to the tariff revision? The CEB made a proposal, rightly went before the Public Utilities Commission, and the Public Utilities Commission, through their own experts, examined it and they came up with a slightly different tariff revision. A different scheme of tariff revision that would have ensured that the costs were actually met without it damaging the most poor and the vulnerable in this country. This must be put on record. Electricity is generated, the minister is here, generated by various methods. Hydropower, NCRE, coal, naphtha, FO or HFO, and diesel. And the cost of electricity generated by these varied means also varies and varies drastically. For instance, the hydro is the most economical, and the cost of producing hydroelectricity is far lower than what it costs to produce through diesel. Now, if people were to consume less, that is units 0 to 30, if all the consumers in Sri Lanka were to consume, all the domestic consumers are to consume between 0 to 30, hydroelectric power is sufficient. Hydroelectric power is sufficient, or maybe another method which costs slightly higher but nowhere near the cost of the diesel. So therein lies the rationale that the lower slabs must be charged at the lowest possible rate, because they don't put that extra burden on the country to produce more. They consume less, and if it is spread across, that slab should be charged the lowest. The CEB, as is customary, forecast a higher consumption of this is usually done by them, 16,520 gigawatts, which would have cost 722 billion Lanka rupees. But when cost increases, there is an elasticity, and a reasonable estimate of the actual demand would have been around 15 million gigawatts and not 16.5. And the cost
Honourable
also
Member, you have another 2 more minutes.
Thank you. Would have been equally less. Therefore, those who consume between 0 to 30, 31 to 60, could have continued to pay the cost for electricity at the same rate. But what has happened? What has happened by your tariff increase, which this chairman opposed, and only he opposed, in the new composition of PUCSL that you have now, 0 to 30, the cost has increased by 275%. 31 to 60 by 270%. 61 to 90 by 162.5%. And lo and behold, from 91 to 120, no increase at all. So those who consume more don't have to pay more than what they are paying. But those who have been economically using the scarce resource of electricity, they have to pay 275% more, and it's no secret that tens of thousands of households have already had their electricity supply disconnected as a result of this tariff increase. So this is hitting the poor. True, the country is in economic crisis, but you don't take from those who don't have and give to those who have abundantly. That's a wrong principle. Those who are consuming more, I'm not saying take from the rich and give it to the poor. I'm not even saying that. All that I'm saying is those who
Honourable Member, time is up.
I'm winding up. Those who cost the country more because of their higher use are the ones. Thank you. Thank you. They are the ones who must pay for the increase in cost, and not the ones, not the poor, not the poorest of the poor, who have just 2 bulbs and a fan, perhaps just 1 bulb in their house for their children to study. Now you are increasing the cost of electricity for them by 275%. This cannot be permitted. And the one person, he is your choice. You steamrolled and chased the others away and brought him and installed him in that chair. At least that man has a conscience, not to tax the poor. And when he speaks out of his conscience, you want to get rid of him. And that we can't allow, because we are here to represent the citizens of this country. And when we do that, we must speak more for those who cannot afford, those who are struggling to make ends meet, those who have already cut down on their meals from 3 to 2 to 1. Not for those who can afford and take the added pressure of this economic crisis that your government brought about to this country. It is you who are seated in the government rows, and some of you who have now crossed over, who are responsible for this economic crisis, who are responsible for all of this. And you can't put that burden on the poor, and that we will resist. Thank you. Before I sit down, Honorable Chair, before I sit down, I want to raise a question of privilege on behalf of Honorable Selvaraja Gajendran, who was manhandled by the police in Jaffna yesterday. He was seen being carried away by 6 policemen and dumped in a bush with thistles. He's still seated there right through the night. They arrested 9 other people for protesting in a peaceful manner. 9 people have been arrested and detained in Palali police station, where no access is given to a lawyer or anybody. And Gajendran, Mr. Honorable Gajendran, was not arrested because they knew arresting a member of parliament would be a problem. But they carried him away physically and they have dumped him in a bush, and he's still seated in that bush while we are debating this. It's a huge issue, and I'm raising it as a question of privilege on behalf of Honorable Selvaraja Gajendran. Thank you.
Thank you.